The world famous investor Warren Buffett once said, only invest in what you understand. Interestingly enough, he just invested $4 billion into TSMC. So I would like to congratulate him because his $4 billion stake is now worth $5 billion. You've just earned $1 billion. And second of all, with the age of 92, you have declared yourself an expert in the semiconductor manufacturing industry. Now, jokes aside, TSMC stands for Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, and it's currently the world's biggest chip foundry that exists. They are currently very dominant in the market. They have a market share of over 55%, and in second place is Samsung with roughly 13-14%. So we can see there's a huge gap between other big manufacturers and TSMC. So they're extremely dominant at the moment. TSMC is especially successful with their development of smaller nodes on their chips so they can produce more efficient and faster chips. We can see that with the size of the nodes on each chip. So we see Samsung and TSMC are the only two on the market at the moment who can produce 3 nanometer chips. They're not on the market yet, but TSMC says they'll be the first ones to release those 3 nanometer chips in the spring of 2023. Now, of course, we don't need such advanced chips for all the appliances that we use, like fridges or cars or whatever, but for the most advanced equipment such as iPhones or other smartphones around, fighter jets and so on, we do need very advanced chips, and we see that TSMC just is very dominant in that region. So hypothetical, without TSMC, the global market of chips would literally collapse. We would have 60% less chips, and we would also be losing most of the advanced chips at the moment. That importance of TSMC is reflected by its customer list. We see that Apple is their biggest customer. All of Apple chips are being manufactured by TSMC, and they make up 25% of TSMC's revenue. Then we also have HiSilicon used to be, so that was Huawei actually. They used to be an important customer, but nowadays they completely faded away. Then we have Qualcomm, Nvidia, Broadcom, AMD, and even Intel. They are all important customers from TSMC. So as you could imagine, if there is a problem with TSMC, we're going to have a global problem in the chips market, because all of those companies won't be able to get their chips anymore. So I think from here on you can already understand why Warren Buffett has an interest of investing into TSMC. It's a global player, and without TSMC, nothing is going to work anymore. And the second reason why I believe Warren Buffett invested in the company is because of the valuation of the company. If we're looking into their income statement, we see that they made net revenue of $20 billion last quarter. This is not for the year, this is for the quarter. So they're making roughly $80 billion per year in revenue, and they are extremely profitable. They made a net income of $9.5 billion, which is a net profit margin of almost 50%. So extremely profitable company, extremely important company with almost no competition. If we annualize those quarterly results, we actually see that TSMC per year is earning roughly $7.16. If we divide that by the current share price of roughly $81, $82, we get a PE ratio of around 12. That's extreme value, extremely cheap for an important company like TSMC. Additionally to that, TSMC is also paying a fantastic dividend. So at the current market price and the dividend that they're paying per year, they're actually yielding 2.3%. So that's additional to the cheap valuation of the company. And of course, Warren Buffett will just love that, right? Important company, cheap company, and a good dividend yield. And the last and fourth reason why I think that Warren Buffett actually bought the company is because it fits very well into his current portfolio. If we look at what Warren Buffett is owning already, we see that the biggest company he's owning is Apple. Now think about that. Apple is the biggest customer of TSMC. So what Warren Buffett is doing is he's basically buying the whole supply chain of Apple. And Warren Buffett is also owning HP. So HP, most of the computer chips are either produced by AMD or by Intel. And both of them, again, are customers of TSMC. So again, Warren Buffett is buying the supply chain. And then he's also bullish on Activision Blizzard, which is, of course, the gaming company. But if you're bullish on gaming, you're bullish on computers, or on graphic cards, right? Which are, again, produced by TSMC. So TSMC just fits perfectly in his portfolio, and I'm sure that's a reason why he bought it. Now the question is, of course, what does that mean for us? Shall we invest into TSMC because Warren Buffett did it? And from my personal opinion, I think that only depends on one single thing, and one thing only. And that is if you personally can stomach the risk of geopolitical tensions over Taiwan. That's the only thing you need to think about. If you can, if you think there's no problem, there's not going to be a war, China's not going to, invade or go into Taiwan or whatever, if you think everything is going to be resolved, TSMC is a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. But if you think that there could be more issues with Taiwan, then you better be careful. Because who knows what's going to happen with TSMC if there is going to be some kind of, a conflict between China and Taiwan, as example. So from my point of view, that's the only thing you need to think about. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please click the like button and subscribe.